people, we are back. If you notice here, we've gotten a little bit accomplished here. We've got the hands. I don't know how well that's picking up. We got the hands detailed out as good as we can right now, both of them. And we've tried shaping the body some. I don't know if you can tell. Trying to get the taper. We still need to do this side a lot better. But just get the general taper. I was just trying to get the rough shape of it so y'all could actually see it coming together. This arm is pretty decent. We might have to work on a little bit more, but I need to do that one a lot. The horns, if you can pick those up. We got a good shape of those going. They still have a lot of detail to do because they have like these little notches. But funny story at the horns, as you can see, they can come off. And for anybody who's ever curious how, when I have to reattach something, is you get you a couple heavy gauge wires and put some glue on them, and then you stick them down in the wood, and then they're rock solid. And then when you're ready to put the other piece back on permanently, you put glue on the end of those, and then just to fix them on there. But the reason we had to take the horns off is the way they were on the wood. I had removed too much wood, pretty much, getting to the point. And they were sitting here on what's going to be like the little white part. They're sitting up here, and there wasn't enough wood behind it to just shave it down to where it needed to be back here. There just wasn't enough wood, so we actually had to cut them off and then just move them back. So it worked out, and it honestly helps make it easier to shape the horns. But we got a little bit more work to do, trying to get the body shape. And then the body, the front here, all these chains and the lock and the actual little bell, we haven't even started on those yet. But I didn't want to do any more carving without documenting it, even though it's going to be pretty dull. Is the reason I did so much off cam already, because it's just such a slow process. This wood isn't even very good wood. If you notice, there's like a lot of tear out here. I don't know what's going on with it. Some spots of it is nice and dense and it carves really well, and other parts it just tears apart. I thought it was the blade, so I sharpened it. Didn't make a difference. I threw it away and then put a new blade on. Didn't make a difference. Plus, this block of wood, I don't know if I said it before, is actually thicker than my average blocks of wood. Let's see. If you look, here's the thickness we're using right now compared to the average thickness I use. The average one is 2x3x12. This one's 3x3, so it's an inch thicker. So, I don't know if that's honestly playing too much into it or not. I've used this size block of wood once before for the Falcor wood carving, and it didn't give me trouble. But what we're going to do at this point is just try and shape some stuff more, especially the body here. Let's go ahead and take the horns off so we don't break those. But let's see. And also be careful, we got a lot of things protruding now, fingers, nose. Do not sit this flat or you're going to break something. But pretty much we're just going to try and taper it so it's going to be like a wave motion. And you just want to try and get it as uniform as possible as far as the symmetry. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be pretty close. Honestly, I felt like I needed a thicker piece of wood than this one even is to get the actual body shape of the krampus. Because if you look here in our little profile sketch, I mean, it's an odd shape. I mean, we're sort of there, but not quite. Not quite. And it's just for some fact we just didn't have enough wood. Maybe I could have made him that size, and we could have got the shape perfect. But then it's so much harder to actually get any kind of face details or hand details because it's just so small. pretty cool here. We got our first fair amount of snow for the year. Enough to actually stick to the ground a little bit. Not anything compared to probably most people up north and everything. They probably actually got real accumulation. But it was neat to be in December and actually have a steady amount of snow falling, even though it didn't really stick to anything but the grass. Man. I've been battling with this profile view of the taper for a couple days now. Just trying to get the right shape of it. That's why I didn't record it, because I just thought it would just be downright boring. But I figured couldn't get too far along in the process without videoing some of it. So this clip is probably going to be pretty crappy as far as actually seeing anything come together, because it's just some of the tedious bits of just trying to get the shape and everything. And the more the Grinch thought of this, who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought. I must stop this whole thing. But for 53 years I put up with it now. Alright. See the... Alright, the problem I'm thinking I'm seeing, guys, for one, this is still completely flat right here. That's just not gonna cut it. So we're gonna have to taper it inward, like that. See how we did this side a little bit? We're gonna have to taper it inward, so it's an angled cut that way. And we're also gonna need to round that off a little bit more, but without making them too thin or skinny or whatever you want to call it. Because rewatching the movie and really watching it very close, because it's honestly actually hard to find good still frame images online of Krampus from the movie. So I just watched the movie a bunch, and all the Krampus scenes I would pause to get as good a view as possible as my reference. And he actually takes a couple different shapes if you pay close enough attention. His normal shape is like this profile view, kind of bulky and big ridge on his back and all that. Real bulky. That's his shape he takes for most of it. But there's a couple times, especially if you pay real close attention at the end, like when he opens up the gates of hell or whatever that's supposed to signify, he gets really tall and thin. So since I'm limited on the amount of wood I have to work with, I think it should come together as far as looking like who's supposed to look like, if I can meet somewhere in the middle. If anybody's curious, go back and take a look at the movie and all those Krampus scenes. He's a general shape for most of the movie, but it really stands out at the end when he all of a sudden just jumps down after he opens up that void to hell. The big hole in the ground opens up when he jumps down, and he's standing there for a few good seconds before it pans away, real tall and skinny looking compared to the hunched over bulky thing he is for most of the movie. It doesn't take away from his character at all. I'm not knocking it or nothing. I'm just saying that's my loophole for him not looking exactly body shape wise like he should. Now I do have a few notes on the movie that I didn't care for, where they just added lines in for the sake of adding lines in instead of really thinking too hard about trying to make sense of it. But if you watch the special features and stuff, they talk about how they were looking at it as kind of throwback to old 80s monster flicks, so that could have been why they did some of the lines that kind of bugged me, like when the dad and the uncle go looking for the daughter, and they end up in that house, the first house you see where Krampus had come down through the chimney and the walls all busted out, and they see the big hoof prints on the ground, and the dad goes, what kind of goat would stand on its hind legs? I mean, just because you see 2 prints, that doesn't, I mean, where you get from that he's standing on his hind legs? That didn't make sense to me. Just really odd thing to say, if you look at it from a realistic point of view, I guess. And then later, after the uncle gets caught in the bear trap, and they get back, well, not in the bear trap, he gets grabbed by something under the snow, and gets bit, and to keep the family calm, he says, it must have been a bear trap under the snow, and the kid just says, there's no bears around here. Okay, there's no bears around, but that doesn't mean there's not some crazy person going around putting bear traps in the snow. I mean, I think it would have worked better if they would have said, why would somebody put bear traps in the snow? And it's kind of ominous, like, okay, what are they trying to catch? What's out there trying to get people that they need to put bear traps? I thought that would have worked better than just the kid saying, oh, there's no bears around here, and everybody kind of saying, getting each other looks like, oh, he's on to us. He doesn't believe us. I mean, it didn't work for me is all I'm saying, guys. But I really enjoyed the movie. Oh, changing up blades here. This is that, I forget what the hell it's called. I call it the sickle blade. It's a little bit curved. I have a handle that actually goes onto, but to try and get in some of these tighter spots, I just hold it. I mean, it digs in your hand something awful, but it gets the job done, so. I mean, not bad, but still not as good as this side. What the hell, guys? So you gotta be careful not to get frustrated and start carving off way too much. Like I always say, it's better to take off a little than too much, because you can always take more off, but you can't put any back on. Except for in the instance of horns, apparently. Second time I've had to remove horns and then reattach. This time it wasn't a design issue. I paid attention to the drawing and made changes for it. It was just I took too much wood off, not thinking ahead of where the horns were supposed to be instead of where they were at the moment. So anybody watching who tries to duplicate, just take that into account, guys. Instead of learning from your own mistakes, you can learn from my mistakes. Save you the headache. So like I said before, I try and keep all my carvings in one piece if I can. Like, I don't like having to take things off or breaking things and reattaching. I don't like doing that. It just, to me, it feels less solid. It's like it's not one whole piece. I like being able to say the carving is one solid piece. And if you break something off or have to remove something and reattach it, it just doesn't quite ring true saying that it's a solid piece, if you know what I mean. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. And I very well could have just reattached those and not said anything, but I chose to show people if you get in a pinch, you don't have to scrap it or get upset or anything. There's always an alternative. But yeah, this is what a lot of it's been, guys. Is this slow paced, just tedious removing a little bit of wood here and there, because other than what we've done in the front here, if you notice the hands and the face, and then the horns obviously, a lot of the major details are done as far as the real focal points. Like the extra stuff is what I call embellishments, the chains and all that. Obviously that's going to make it look 10 times better once it's finished and it's detailed. But the real focal points that people tend to pay attention to, being the face, hands, stuff like that, those are pretty much done. They're going to need some fine tuning later, but being that they're done, the only thing we can focus on now is the body. And unfortunately, the body is this weird shape, because it's in a big, would you call it a cloak? Doesn't wear a suit like Santa, but he wears this color pattern like him, but it's more of a cloak. Doesn't have pants and a jacket. He has just this big cloak he wears. Yeah, that's a little better. And remember, like I said, we're getting the rough shapes here, so you can worry about cutting it a little smoother later and sanding it smooth later. Just trying to get the general details put in right now. Still, really don't. This side is just really ticking me off, man. I just don't like it, because we can't get rid of this flat spot without really hacking a lot of wood off. We'll get back to that later. We're gonna have to start edging our way around now. And the weird thing about the hooves is they need to be visible, but they're gonna have to be under this part here, because that's gonna be the white frilly part. Well, I don't know what it's called, but you know, the main costume's red and the trim is white. So the hoof is gonna have to be underneath of it, but still visible. But for balance and for visibility, obviously, we can't put the hoof back here where it should be. It's gonna have to be up forward more. But luckily, the carving itself is so long that even if the hoof's back here and we want to cut it off here, so it's hoof shape, it should kind of tilt back, so it should be able to stand instead of the hoof, a general hoof shape, and not just a huge flat bottom. I mean, we could always go that route, but and we're just coming in at an angle now. So we're going to start here. It's going to stay somewhat flat here, and we're just going to dig in a little bit of an angle there to try and carry that shape around. And once again, guys, I apologize for this video being kind of dull as far as any details, but that's just the nature of the beast on this one. Might have to get the gouge out or something for this one, being such tight proximities. But just wanted to show y'all what I could right now. And when we get to some of the better stages, we can obviously show you more of the work. But right now, man, it's just this crap. So gotta be careful. There we go. It would really help if I was ambidextrous and I could use both hands. I think that would give me some angles that I'm not used to getting. But I think when it's all said and done, I think it's going to be one of my more favorite carvings, for the amount of detail and just how cool I think it's going to end up looking. Hopefully. don't want to jinx myself. Alright guys, well, to keep y'all from falling asleep from boredom, we're going to go ahead and cut it off here. I'm going to keep working at it, and then I guess the next thing I'll come back with, before we move on to anything else, is we'll start detailing the chain, the lock, and all that. Because at least y'all be able to see the progress we're making on something like that. And we'll be back with the next clip, guys.